Hello everyone, today we are going to be working on annotations on whatever short story you have chosen. Remember, when you go to your assignment, you can click on the rubric here and it will open up for you. If you can't see the specifics, hit this arrow and it will eventually open up so you can see exactly what you're going to be graded on. Now this video is about the ones who walk away from Omelas, which is a wonderful short story, and I'm going to show you exactly what I want for annotations for just the first paragraph, and then the rest of the paragraphs are going to be up to you. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to ask a question about the title. So I'm going to highlight that in yellow because I'm asking a question, and my question is, who are these people? Why are they walking away, right? Why are they important? And then I have to put in a prediction, something that I think is going to happen. And I predict that these few people will leave Omelas because they are thrown out. I'm assuming that something is going to happen in the story that's going to make them get thrown out. Now, it's important to note that whenever I make predictions, whether it's here with the questions or whether it's with the words, the vocabulary, trying to figure out what they mean, or it's with the actual predictions themselves or the connections or anything, whenever I make predictions, it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to not have the right answer for them. They're just guesses. Now for Omelas, I'm going to put in blue because this is a prediction and just a prediction. And my comment is going to be, it must be a place, because people generally walk away or leave places, right? People don't generally walk away from, for example, an elephant. People don't generally walk away from some adjective. People don't walk away from a verb. So Omelas has to be a noun, and I'm guessing it's a place so that it's something people can walk away from so that they go to another place. This is from The Wind's 12 Quarters, a short story collection by Ursula Le Guin. And it starts with a clamor of bells. With a clamor of bells, I can already make a prediction. I predict that this is some sort of celebration. Bells always end up ringing at big celebrations like weddings, festivals, ceremonies, all sorts of things. So I predict that this is a celebration of sorts, where people get to come and celebrate something. I'm not sure what they're celebrating, but they're celebrating something. And it's a clamor of bells that set the swallows soaring. If you heard what I did there, then you know that all of these words start with the same letter. This is known as alliteration, which we've talked about before. Alliteration, every word starts with the same sound. So in this case, all the words start with the letter S. This draws the reader's attention to the story and the importance of the Festival of Summer. So make sure you're following along. You've got the same highlights that I do. You have the same comments that I do. Make sure that you are keeping track of everything that I do, so that way you have this as an example when you start doing this on your own. The Festival of Summer came to the city Omelas, bright towered by the sea. I'm going to highlight sea in purple because I can make a connection there. And I am going to make a couple connections. One, I've been to the sea before. I was just there in Busan about a month ago. So this helps me picture what Omelas might look like. I've also read poetry about the sea, like the poem Sea Fever and Oread, which both help me picture Omelas and the sea. So that's a connection I can make. You can see these connections are not super deep. They're not like, oh, I know what bright towered means because I've seen these towers lit up at night. They can be like that, and they can be very detailed. They can also be very on the surface, right? I've been to the sea. I know what the sea looks like. The rigging of the boats. This is one that I'm going to highlight in red because I'm not sure what rigging means. I know what it means to like rig something, which means to like set something up, but I don't know what it means in this context. I do know, however, it is a part of a boat that someone can hang flags off of, because the text next says It sparkled with flags. So when I'm describing vocabulary, I need to make sure that I'm also putting in there exactly why I think it is what it is. We have here sparkled with flags. I'm going to make a prediction. So I predict that this festival of summer is the largest festival in Omelas because it takes a lot of work to decorate all of the ships with flags. That's a lot of work that I wouldn't go through for just a small festival. So I'm guessing this is a big festival. In the streets between the houses with red roofs, again, we're going to highlight that in orange, and we're going to say this is alliteration. And it's important when you note these literary concepts to note why they're important. This draws attention to the roofs of the houses, and it helps the readers picture what Omelas looks like. Painted walls between old moss-grown gardens. This I'm going to highlight in yellow because I have questions about it. Moss doesn't normally grow on new towns, so is this an old town covered in moss? If it is covered in moss, do they grow things in the garden? I do predict this is an old town because of the moss covering the gardens. I don't think they grow things in the gardens. And under avenues of trees, past great parks and public buildings I can make a connection to because I have been in public buildings before. I've seen a lot of public buildings. So I think that this helps me know what the town looks like, probably with big marbled buildings for official business. In these public buildings, processions moved. I'm going to put that in blue and make a prediction here. I predict that these are parades of celebration for the beginning of summer and probably also the planting season. So I'm guessing that this is probably a farming town. Some were decorous. This word I'm not quite sure what it means, so I'm going to put that in red. I do think it must have something to do with the word decorate because the words look similar, and then the text next describes the robes of mauve and gray. The next thing I'm going to highlight here is old people, and I'm going to highlight that in yellow because I have a question about it. How old are these people? How long have they been in Omelas? I'm going to guess they're around 60 or 70 because they're still able to dress themselves, they're still moving around, they're still part of a parade. So I'm guessing they're around 60 or 70, fairly active. The next word I'm going to highlight is mauve because I'm not quite sure what that means. So I do know that it must be some sort of adjective because it's describing the robes. And the next adjective is gray, so I'm guessing mauve is a color, right? The next thing that I'm going to look at here, so some were decorous, old people in long stiff robes of mauve and gray, grave master workmen. This is confusing to me, so I'm going to highlight it in red. It's challenging for me because I'm not sure why they would be grave. Grave means to be very serious, very stern, kind of. The rest of the people in the text seem pretty happy. And this is a festival, so this is a challenging statement for me, so I'm going to highlight it in red. Quiet, merry women carrying their babies and chatting. I'm going to highlight babies here in blue and make a prediction. So I talked about this festival maybe being about the start of the season or about planting or about summer, but maybe it's also for fertility. And so maybe the women are going so that they can have babies later. In other streets, the music beat faster. Music cannot beat itself. People have to beat music, so this is personification. A shimmering of gong and tambourine. This I'm going to ask a question about. So I'm going to highlight it in yellow, and I'm going to put a comment there. I don't know, why are these instruments so important? Do they have other instruments? What about drums and other band instruments, right? I'm picturing like big parades with band instruments and things. So I predict that these instruments must be important to the people, but they have other ones as well. And the people went dancing. The procession was a dance. I have another question about this. Is this dance choreographed? Meaning, is it something planned or is it just freestyle? I'm going to predict that it's freestyle because choreography is just too difficult for an entire town to get right. Children dodged in and out. Oh my goodness, so many questions. Where is this normal for children to just dodge in and out? Where are their parents? What are they doing? I predict this is normal because I've seen the pre-middles without supervision, and they just run around and get in everyone's way. So I predict that this is pretty normal. There are high calls rising like the swallows crossing flights. Here we have a simile, right? And this is a simile because it is comparing the children's calls to the flights of birds, and it uses the word like or as, but this one uses like. And this helps the reader understand what the calls sounded like, right? They sound like these birds flying overhead. Over the music and singing. All the processions wound towards the north side of the city. Of course I have questions about this. Why the north side? What's happening there? What are they going to do when they get together? I predict that this is going to be some sort of festival where there are going to be games and dancing, kind of like a county fair. There's going to be like rides, and there's going to be different games that you can play and prizes to win, just like at a fair. Where the great water meadow called the green fields, boys and girls, naked in the bright air. Now I have a question. Why are these children naked? What does that do? And my prediction is maybe it's like the people in history who fought naked. You know, like all the people who like went out and fought in war and fought battles naked because they were very proud of their wounds, or they trusted themselves and didn't think armor was going to protect them any better than they could. So maybe that's why they're naked. Maybe they're going to get into like some sort of fight or something. With mud-stained feet and ankles and long, lithe arms. I'm not quite sure what lithe means, so I'm going to put it in red. I'm not sure what it means, but it might mean skinny, and it might mean strong. It's the arms of children, so it might mean skinny, but it also might mean strong because these are children riding horses, so they might be very strong. Exercise the rest of horses before the race. The horses wore no gear at all, but a halter without bit. Here, this is a challenging sort of phrase for me. I'm not sure what this means, a halter without bit, but I know it must be equipment horses wear. And maybe it's that thing that wraps around their nose to guide them, so that way the children can ride them and like direct where they're going. Their manes were braided with streamers of silver, gold, and green. I'm going to highlight this in yellow. And I want to know what is the significance of these colors? Right, they kind of remind me of Slytherin, the silver and the green at least. I'm going to guess that these are the colors of the town. Maybe they're on the town flag. Maybe these are three very important colors to the town. I'm not sure, but we're going to put that there. They flared their nostrils and pranced and boasted to one another. Boasted goes in orange because this is personification. This gives the horses personality. This helps the reader understand what these horses are like. And again, they were vastly excited, the horse being the only animal who has adopted our ceremonies as his own. That's again personification. Horses don't really feel vastly excited the way humans do, and they can't really adopt our ceremonies. These aren't things animals can normally do. This adds to the story because it shows how important the people are, or the horses are, to the people of Omelas. Far off to the north and the west, the mountains stood up, half encircling. Oops, I forgot to highlight that. Highlight that in orange. Half encircling Omelas on her bay. I'm going to put this in blue. Whoops, that's purple. Put this in blue. And my prediction here is that someone is going to be coming from these mountains. Something is going to come from the mountains to the festivities. I don't know what it is, but something. We wouldn't mention mountains without there being some importance, right? The air of the morning was so clear that the snow still crowning the 18 peaks burned with white gold fire across the miles of sunlit air. White gold fire is, of course, a metaphor, and it compares the snow on the mountaintops to white gold fire. This helps the reader understand how tall the mountains really are. I mean, this is the middle of summer, or this is the beginning of summer, and they still have snow on them during the summer festival. And what they look like, this bright, bright white on top of the mountains. There was just enough wind to make the banners that marked the race course. I'm going to put a prediction here. I predict that there's going to be a race with horses, because the text talks about horses first and then a race course marked with banners. So I predict there's going to be a race happening here. Snap and flutter now and then. In the silence of the broad green meadows, one could hear the music winding through the streets. And again, here we have personification because music cannot wind. It's something that people do. So this is telling us that the music is drifting in and out. Sometimes it's audible, sometimes it's not. It's winding. Through the city streets, farther and nearer and ever approaching, a cheerful faint sweetness of the air that from time to time trembled and gathered together and broke out into the great, joyous clanging of bells. Again, bells cannot feel joy, so this is personification. But it does help the reader understand that this is a joyous occasion. We don't have funeral bells here. This is not something sad. This is something joyous. So we have quite a few annotations here, and we finished paragraph 1. Now what we want to do is highlight just that last little section of paragraph 1 and write our summary here of the first paragraph. So the first paragraph introduces Omelas and the Festival of Summer, which everyone seems to be excited about and preparing for with parades, banners, decorations, and a horse race. So what I want you to do is every paragraph, try to use all the colors. Every paragraph, do a summary of what is happening in the paragraph. There's only 14 paragraphs. I know you can do this. If you have questions or concerns, please make sure you message me and reach out to me so that I can help you. Your paper should now look exactly like this, with the same comments and everything. And the rest of your paper should look very similar, right? You should have a lot of colors. You should have a lot of comments going on. All right, I will see you guys later.